Hello, this is the Old Manse, and I just wanted to just talk very briefly about a couple of things that I've noticed in recent months when doing city collections on my Forge of Empires city. So the first thing just to point out is probably something that you're already aware of, but it wasn't something that I realised until quite recently. I'm a bit slow sometimes, and that is that if you've got one of these, which is a sacred Archdruid hut or just a normal Archdruid hut, you get with a sacred one, you get 100% coin boost every day. So use it, otherwise it's just going to go to waste, isn't it? So I've actually already done that today. So you'll see if I go into my city boosts, I've actually done that. I've added 10 of them today, which is the maximum that you can now do. So that gives me 1,000% extra coins when I do my city collection. So just a very brief thing there, just to make sure that you're using the things that you're collecting as well. The next thing that I wanted to do, is kind of the main thing for this video really, is to look at, when you're doing a city collection, what you're collecting. So for those of you that play on desktop, you'll probably be aware of this FOE helper tool, which is so useful. And if I just bring this up here, so for example, this tells me that I'm about to collect just over 1,000 forge points, which is great, right? But what it's also telling me is that I could be collecting 1,600 forge points. This figure includes my castle, so it is slightly under that because I've already collected that today. But I'm missing out on pretty much 50% again, forge points, 500 forge points. So what I wanted to talk today was why this is happening, and what I've noticed is that this is happening more and more these days. So there are various things that I could do. So just to kind of show you as well. So if we look at the goods, I've got a potential here of 2,870 goods, but I'm only going to be collecting nearly 1,600. So that's another 1,200 goods that I'm not going to be collecting. And the reason for that is that you'll see that some of these buildings require the building itself to be motivated or aided in order to produce the goods or the coins or the other products that it produces each day, the forge points, whatever that is. What's become really apparent from recent events is that want you to have your buildings to be motivated in order for them to produce the goods that they're going to be producing. So if I go on here, for example, if I hover over my Aegean resort from last year's event, you'll see on here, if it was motivated, I've got the possibility of getting 48 forge points, and I'm not currently getting that. I haven't got that option at the moment. I haven't got that possibility because it hasn't been aided by somebody. So what I'm just going to show you is the impact of aiding and just how good it is. So if I find a mass self-aid kit in here and I use one of these, you'll see I've got 107 buildings that haven't been motivated in my city, which is quite a lot, isn't it? Not all of these are going to be buildings that I want to be motivated necessarily. Though the extra motivation will just provide me with happiness, for example, which I'm not that particularly bothered about. But I'm going to show you once I've done my city collection how many buildings are affected by what you collect each day. So I'm going to motivate now 107 buildings. And what I'm just going to do now is do my city collection. So just bear with me for a minute while I do that. Okay, so I've collected everything from my city and used my Blue Galaxy, etc. What I'm just going to do now, oh good, I got diamonds from that one, that's good. What I'm just going to do now is go through the motions. I'm not actually going to use my self-aid kit again, but just show you. So 170 buildings. So I've got now 170 buildings, which I just collected from, and which haven't been aided, and which I'm hoping in the next 24 hours are going to be aided in order to produce all the goods that they could be producing. However, what you've noticed, the difference between those two numbers is 63 from before and after my city collection. So what that means is that I only had 63 people aid me in the last 24 hours. That means that I've got to use every day either a mass self-aid kit or over 100 self-aid kits. That's an awful lot, right? That's going to eat through these really quickly. One of the things that I just kind of want to show is that when people aid you, what happens is that this game decides which building gets aided. So when I hit aid all, or I just go through my thing and hit on aid, the game decides what's going to be aided first. And usually its preference is for these smaller event buildings. So things like these sacred trees that I've got here. These are 1x1 buildings, really efficient. You know, they produce amazing things. You know, we've got potential of on average 2.5 forge points plus 2% defense for both attacking and defending armies. Really, really efficient buildings. But what it means is that, you know, for every 4 of these, that requires 4 aids. And it could be that I could be having 4 larger buildings motivated for the same benefit. So, for example, if I got rid of 4 of these and I put in an extra jumping pumpkin, that would only take away 1 aid rather than the 4 that are going to be needed there. So I'm going to be redesigning my city soon, and I'm going to be taking this into account, and I'm going to be thinking to myself, let's just get rid of all these smaller buildings and put in some larger buildings. There are kind of different attitudes that I could have towards this, aren't there? Either I could think to myself, well, it doesn't really matter, I'm not that bothered. I'm getting 1,000 a day just on my city collection, plus whatever I get in GE or GBG and quantum incursions. It's not a big deal for me. I'm not gonna do it, but of course it is 50% extra, which is quite a lot, isn't it? So I'm happy to have that attitude. At the end of the day, it's just a game. It doesn't really matter that much, but it would be good to do it. What we're trying to do here is run a really efficient city. And this isn't efficient. This is an inefficiency in the game at the moment. So I could either have the attitude of just sucking it up, as it were. I could go through my self-aid kits and my mass self-aid kits until I've run out, and then decide what I'm going to do at that point. What I'm going to do is remove, as I said, some of these smaller buildings and replace them with some larger buildings. So hopefully I get more and more of my buildings motivated. What I need really is to have more people aid me at the end of the day. So if I've got 170 buildings that need to be aided, the maximum number of friends that you can have is 140. If they aided you every day, that would be 140. The maximum number of people you can have in your guild is 80. So that would take us over that limit, plus of course a maximum of 80 in your neighbourhood. Of course, it doesn't always work like that. So, for example, at the moment, I've only got 73 people in my neighbourhood, and only 68 that are either not friends or guild mates. I'm in quite a small guild, so I could leave this guild and go to a bigger guild where I'd get more people motivating and aiding my buildings every day. So that's another option. I'm not going to do that, by the way. I love my little guild. And then the other option is to make sure that my friends, the friends that I've got are motivating me regularly. And I do go through. So on this FOE Helper, there's a really useful tool here, which shows for your neighbours and your guildmates and your friends, but I tend to use just the friends one really. It shows you how many people have motivated you and when they've most recently motivated you or aided you. So you can see here that there's only actually 6 people that have motivated me, motivated my buildings like today. But I think if you go back a little bit further, you can see it's probably just about a half. I think if you get down to the last day, we're nearly at the halfway stage with the bar here. So it's probably about of the 140, it's going to be about 60-ish people that have motivated me in the last day for my friends list. And you're never going to get everybody, I don't think, unless you're super on it. But I do go down this list quite regularly and just remove some of the people that haven't aided me for a while. I usually look at about a month. If somebody hasn't motivated me in the last month, then I will think about kicking them from my friends list. And then obviously, guildmates, it's a requirement in our guild that you aid as regularly as possible. But the most you're going to get is 3 or 4 times a week from people. And then your neighbourhood, of course, you're going to get people that would rather attack you than aid you. And that's okay. And some people just don't really care about the neighbourhood at all, so they won't aid you just because they're not interested. So I guess the outcome of this kind of little bit of analysis is that we can do one of 3 or 4 things. Either we just don't really care about it, and we just have the attitude that it doesn't really matter that I'm losing out on these goods each day, or I can have the attitude of I'm just going to use up all my mass self-aid kits and self-aid kits. Or I have the attitude that I'm going to start replacing my buildings. So you'll see, so for example, this Great Wheel is a bit of an older event building. This doesn't require motivation in order to produce its goods and forge points, whereas most of the recent buildings will do. And some obviously provide better returns than others. So the new Celestial Golden Orrery will only give you some fragments of the Stage of Ages selection kit. So actually that's not that interesting. It's going to give you my forge points, whatever. But there are others, like I say, like the Aegean Resorts, where you've got a potential 50% of the time getting an extra 48 forge points, which is quite a lot and makes a big difference. And the most recent one that we had, the Metro Plaza, let's go for the top one. So that gives me potentially 24 forge points there. The other thing that we can do is to remove buildings that require motivation, or some buildings that require motivation, and replace them with buildings that don't require motivation. So that can be some older buildings like the Great Wheel, or like I think the Rhododendron Field. Yeah, that doesn't require motivation in order to provide its forge points, but we'll still provide you its defense stats, which is great. And of course, great buildings, they don't require motivation. So again, they can be, depending on which ones you choose, obviously, there are some rubbish ones out there. Your forge points won't be affected by aiding when they're coming from a great building. And then things like wishing wells and other things that provide you with some random goods. So let me know what you think. What's your views on this? How do you deal with it? Have you noticed this? Had you not noticed it? And actually this has just opened your eyes maybe to what's happening. Do you not really care about your city collection because you get so many forge points from other sources anyway? Let me know what your thoughts are on this and how you're dealing with it. See you next time. Bye bye.